Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well today. Today I've got an assortment of Dogman, Skinwalker encounters to share with you. Before we get into these encounters, a couple links I'd like to share. As you know, I rely on my Patreon, PayPal, and merch to help this channel to continue to grow and go. I also have a second channel for creepypasta, fan fiction, and scary voice acting. Stories that don't fit on this channel. Now, if that's anything that you're into, follow that link below and give those stories a listen. You may just like what you hear. I also started a GoFundMe page to help raise some money for urban exploration, ghost hunting, and cryptid hunting equipment. If that's anything that you're willing to help with, that link is in the description as well. Now, I've definitely taken enough of your time, and you've definitely waited a couple of days for these encounters, so let's get on with these encounters. Shall we? Today's first Dogman encounter comes to us from Muskego, Wisconsin, February 22nd. A 13-year-old in Waukesha County claims he had a terrifying encounter with a bipedal creature he was not immediately able to identify. The boy stated that he was walking his dog near a wooded area close to home about 8 p.m. when the canine companion began barking. He was growling in a direction of a small wooded area on his street, he said on a February 22nd alleged encounter. I took a closer look over and seeing nothing until I hear a deep snarl. It sounded like a strangled wolf. The boy states he backed up immediately after realizing he was staring at a pair of yellow eyes. I got a good look at it. I stood there for a minute or so, racking my brain and thinking, what could this be? Then it took a step towards me and I bolted back towards my home. He described the animal as 5 feet tall dog-like creature walking on 2 legs and exhibiting black and gray fur. Its head, he explained, had a long snout with large fangs and pointed ears. It also had long, dark gray claws that were about 2 inches long. Our second Dogman encounter comes to us from Ohio. According to legend, the area, which is now Resurrection Cemetery, was once the stomping ground for werewolves during the Great Black Swamp days. When I was a kid, I used to have church campouts along the Aglaze River, next to the cemetery, and the priest would tell some pretty wild stories about werewolves in that area. There's usually a kernel of truth to any given legend, but what could possibly explain the presence of werewolves in northwest Ohio, or anywhere else for that matter? The most mundane explanation is that there were, in fact, wolves in the area during the point of our history. Man had not yet hunted them out of the area, and it's very well likely that this is the explanation for the early werewolf reports. However, one of the more interesting paranormal solutions could lie with Native American traditions. Many tribes had traditions of shape-shifting, and perhaps the local Shawnee shamans were able to transform themselves into a wolf form as part of their religious rites. Many Native Americans believe it's possible, so who's to say it isn't? Another extraordinary explanation could be that early pioneers had made contact with Sasquatch. Recently, Ohio has been having more Bigfoot sightings than ever and has several of the oldest accounts on record. Perhaps the early settlers wrongly labeled this creature as a werewolf because it's the only way they knew how to describe it. Our third encounter is a Dogman or possible Skinwalker. You guys decide. At about 11:25, we were just getting settled down and I noticed the howling. I didn't think much of it. 5 minutes later, we heard the bushes moving, and we saw this wolf-like figure walking about 20 yards away. My dad pulled out his .22 pistol and loaded it and put it back in his pocket. By this time, my brother and I were kind of freaked out. At about 11:46, we saw a Native American, dressed in fur, walking where the dog had just walked. He stopped in his tracks. Right as I saw him, he stared at me with these big, glowing brown eyes, then continued to walk and soon vanished into the woods. After this, my brother and Dad and I were talking it over and decided that he might have lost his wolf and was searching for it. Although I did think it was a little strange to have such a huge and powerful animal like that, but I ignored the thought and we all went to sleep. I had these wild dreams about the wolf and the man living together forever in evil. I woke up sometime between 3 and 4 a.m. to hear a very deep breathing. At first I thought it was my dad or my brother, but then it got louder and closer. I finally got enough guts to get up and investigate, but I wish I hadn't, because the mere thought still scares me. I saw the wolf 10 feet away from me eating the remains of a deer. When the wolf saw me, it sprinted into the bushes. I expected to see the wolf come out of the other side, but instead the fur-covered Indian walked out. Today's fourth and final encounter. A husband and wife had just pulled over to check on their load they had in the back of their truck. As the husband was just about finished up, he took a quick glance at the road behind them and noticed in the distance, a little less than a mile, a figure on the side of the road hobbling as it walked towards their truck. This surprised him in that they hadn't seen or passed a person since they left Monticello. As he stood there, he realized it was growing in size, meaning that it was approaching at an incredible speed. Backing up, he yelled at his wife, "Get ready to leave fast." At a dead sprint, he ran back to the truck and jumped into the passenger side, only to find himself screaming at the top of his lungs to his wife, instructing her to go. Go, go! Slamming his door, he took one glance back outside his window as the truck peeled off and saw what they can only describe as the most mangy-looking human animal he has ever seen. He couldn't tell if it was in rags or just heavily coated black animal, running, hobbling very fast. As it did quickly catch up to the side of the truck, according to him, the way the eyes looked struck him with terror. They were very large, almost bulging out, as would a praying mantis's eyeballs do, but with pinpoint pupils. Too afraid, he looked at his wife, who was starting to shake uncontrollably. He took the steering wheel, realizing she also took a glance at this thing. Her foot was still floored to the accelerator. Wow, guys. Some amazing encounters right there. I don't know. I honestly just don't know. These things never cease to amaze me, yet terrify me. I mean, what do you do when you see one of these things, especially one running aside of your vehicle, or your 13-year-old boy walking your dog? You get the hell out of there as fast as you can. Now, I've had a lot of people comment that these things are just as scared as us and just want to live in peace. Well, something that's chasing after you or growling at you ferociously, that doesn't seem like peaceful living to me. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed these encounters, and I see you tomorrow. With that, I bid you farewell.